please join me all in giving a warm welcome to Tim Cork.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. I just wanted to start the evening out because I think it's very, very appropriate. By the way, I love your sweater. Canada all the way. If this gets mic'd up a little bit, I want to take a little bit of a survey here because I understand that our women's hockey team just won gold. But I just want to take a bit of a survey for a second. First of all, I want to find, we're going to do men and women here, okay? So I'm just going to go with this, go with me on this one. But first of all the women in the room, I want you to, on the count of 3, say, "Go, Canada, go." Okay, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go, Canada, go. Just the women, okay? 1, 2, 3.
Go, Canada, go!
That's great. That's great. Okay. Now, all the men in the room, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Same thing. Go, Canada, go. Okay? 1, 2, 3.
Go, Canada, go!
Okay, that wasn't bad. That wasn't bad. But now we know why the women are winning most of the medals in the Olympics. Okay? Just, that's why. That's why. Sorry, guys, but a little more enthusiasm. I am going to take this off now, but you know, this is a pretty special time in our history. You know, we're not going to get too many more chances like this in our lifetime to see a Winter Olympics in Canada, and we're doing pretty well. So this is good stuff. But I'm not going to talk about the Olympics too much tonight, even though I'm kind of excited. Are you guys excited about the Olympics, by the way? I hope so. I'm not always, I just got back from Maui. Life's tough sometimes, but that's why I'm a little darker than normal. But we went through Vancouver. So on our trip out, we stopped in Vancouver, and on our way back, we stopped in Vancouver too. And the atmosphere around there is just, it's electrifying. It's amazing. And it's pretty cool. And I think it's starting to pick up right across the country, but when you're in Vancouver, it's a pretty cool place to be. Now, on Maui, especially when the U.S. team beats the Canadian team in hockey, it's not great to be walking around with a Canada shirt all day, every day. So I took a little bit of heat on that, but you know what? Power to us, because we're going to win the gold in the men's hockey, too. We will do that. We will do that. Now, you know, I'm going to give you a lot of strategies, some concepts, and some ideas. These are good lessons for life. And I like to use the metaphor of an iceberg. It's a very, very powerful metaphor for a lot of reasons. About 90% of an iceberg is below the surface. So how do you tap into that incredible potential below the surface? And my book is called Tapping the Iceberg. The philosophy in my book, it's all about getting straight A's in life. A's are pretty good. And I have 2 kids. My daughter's at Queen's. My son is at Western. Sorry, none of them are at York right now. I went to York, by the way. I'm York alumni. So a lot of people ask me, what did you major in at York? And I'll be honest, beer and hockey is what I majored in at York. But I played for the York Yeomen, and I had the opportunity actually to play professional hockey in Europe for a few years too. So hockey's sort of running through my veins and has for a whole bunch of years. But the straight A's, how do you tap into the 3 A's? The 3 A's are attitude, aptitude, and action. And it's like any combination lock. If you want to open up that combination lock for abundance and success in life, you can't just hit 1 or 2 of the numbers. You've got to hit all 3. And these 3 are critical. They work well together. I mean, attitude's really important. We know that. Aptitude's always important because people are going to look at your experience. They're going to look at your street smarts. They're going to look at your book smarts. They're going to look at what do you bring to the table. How do you make a difference? They'll always look at that. Action. Nothing happens until you take some action. You got to take action. And I will spend a lot of time tonight looping back and talk a lot about attitude. Because when it really gets down to it, when people are looking for you, when you're looking for a job, moving your career, wherever you want to go, and there's 3 or 4 people that are similar and have the opportunity or whatever, people will always look to attitude. Attitude, attitude, attitude. It's the first thing that comes into the room. And guess what? Who chooses your attitude every day? Who chooses your attitude? Yeah, you do. You do. You got to make that decision. You got to decide what it is. Anybody read this book? This is a great book too. It's called Fish. I'm going to talk about a few books tonight, but this particular book, in my book too, all these books are listed. I talk about a lot of these books inside my book too. This is a great book. It's about a fish market. Anybody heard of Pike's Market in Seattle or ever been there? What do you know about when you go to Pike's Market? What's magical? What's kind of cool about it?
They interact with their customers.
Right.
And
They throw fish around at each other. Yeah. So they engage. This is kind of a cool concept for life, isn't it? They engage their customers and they create a great experience. That's what it's all about. It's creating a great experience. What's your brand? What is your brand all about? We're going to talk about LinkedIn a little bit, Facebook, Twitter, a bunch of things tonight. How many people in the room, by the way, are on LinkedIn? You need to be on LinkedIn. I think Facebook's wonderful, but in the business world, when you get into the business world, LinkedIn is the place to be right now. It's a great place to be. It's a great place to build your brand. Facebook's good too, but for the most part in business, people are using more LinkedIn than they are Facebook. Facebook's a little more on the social side. So when you go into the Pike's Market, by the way, do you know what's right next door to Pike's Market? The first one of its kind. They're all over the world now. We pay $3, $4, $5 for a cup of coffee when we walk in. Starbucks. The first Starbucks started right next door. Now, I don't know whether Starbucks borrowed a little bit from Pike's Market or Pike's Market borrowed a little bit from Starbucks. How do you create a great experience? How do you take care of your customers? When you walk into Pike's Market, they engage you. And it's not the easiest job in the world. I don't know about you, but I generally don't go down to fish markets to hang out and get my mojo flowing. And, you know, that's not the best smelling place. It's not the prettiest place to hang out, yet they get big crowds all the time. Why? Because they create a great experience. They've decided to choose their attitude every single day. When you walk into Pike's Market, they're passionate, they're pumped up, they engage their customers. Here's the thing. If you can find what you love, what you're passionate about in life, then you have genuine enthusiasm. You walk into there, and when you're genuine and people see that you're enthusiastic about things, here's the key magical thing about that place. Anytime it's genuine, anytime you're very enthusiastic about things, it's contagious. It's contagious. People want it. I want that. I want the mojo. I want part of what you're all about. If you can find that passion, if you can find out what you love to do in life, everything else will fall into place. Things will start happening for you. Henry Ford got this right. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. You're right. You make the decision. You make the difference, whether you can or you can't. Now this picture right here, the Batman right here, that's me. And I want to preface this, though, it was Halloween when I was wearing that, okay? I don't get dressed up as Batman every day. I'd like to. It's kind of fun. So the little girl being held up there, this is a whole bunch of years ago. That's my daughter, who's now in Queens, Stephanie, and a couple of neighborhood kids. A few years later, I used to love to rent this Batman costume. So a few years later, I rented this Batman costume one day on Halloween and drove my kids to school in the Batman costume. Now, my daughter that day was dressed up as a fairy princess. My son was dressed up as a Ninja Turtle. So we all piled into my car, and at the time I had a black BMW, I had a Batmobile. So I had it all going on. This was kind of cool. I had the Bat costume, I had the Batmobile, we all got into the car, we drove up to the school. I thought I'd just drop my kids off. At the time we were living in the Lawrence Park area in Toronto. I was working in Markham. I thought I'd just drop them off and then I could get on the 401 and I could get up to work in relatively good time. Well, I was wrong. They pulled me in, the principal and a bunch of teachers, and said, Batman, you're in the school. Could you just cruise around with us for a while? This was better than having the firemen and the policemen here. They had a superhero in the school. So I got into the school. I went from classroom to classroom to classroom. I was there for about 2 hours. I was pretty late for work. So finally I got out. I got into the Batmobile. I got onto the 401, and I had to make up a little bit of time here. So I was speeding excessively on the 401. I got pulled over by the OPP. So here I am. I'm sitting in my Batmobile. I've got the full costume on. Behind me, the officer's pulled me over. He gets out of his cruiser. He starts walking up towards my car. I go, you know how you get the little wheels going on in your head, the bad wheels and the good wheels are going like this, and you're thinking, okay, how do I get out of this one? How do I get out of this one? So as he's walking up to my car, I'm checking out rear view mirror, side view mirror, rear view mirror, side view mirror. I'm trying to figure this one out. He gets up to the side of the car. I pop down the window. He looks in and he goes, Batman. Where are you going? And I looked at him and I said, Gotham City. I thought that was pretty funny. He didn't. He didn't. So he said, you were speeding quite excessively, and I'm going to have to give you a pretty big ticket there, Batman. And I said, okay, well, can I just explain a little bit of what I was doing and where I was? And he said, yeah, this should be a pretty good story. So we started talking, and I said I had 2 young kids, and he looked at me and he said, well, I've got 2 young kids. Common ground. We started talking about our kids. He looked in and he said, you know, that's a pretty cool story. I'm going to let you go, but before you go, you got to take off the mask. I looked at him and I said, sorry, I can't reveal my true identity. Again, you know what? I thought that was pretty funny. He didn't. He didn't. So he let me go. I drove up to my office in Markham. I was working for a pretty big company at that point in time, about 700 people. Usually I park fairly close to the building, but I wanted to make a cool entrance into the building. So I did. Security didn't stop me. Security should have stopped me. They usually do. If you want to get through security, get dressed up as Batman or Batwoman and just walk right through. It works on Halloween. Anyways, lets me into the building. Rather than going to my office right away, I cruised around the building for a little while, and I messed with people. Because it was cool. They didn't know who I was. I knew who they were. I was still in my full Batman costume. So I did that. That night, I went out trick-or-treating with my kids. Big hit in the neighborhood. Very cool evening. At the end of the night, I wish I had got this picture, got up on the roof of the house, full moon, and did one of these with the Batman costume. So that was kind of cool. I mean, this Batman costume, 7-foot wingspan, it had the cool muscular vest, utility belt, pretty cool stuff. I'm actually looking for a new Batman costume. If anybody has a line on one, I'm looking for a good Batman costume, okay? So why do I tell this story? I tell it for a few reasons. First of all, don't take yourself too seriously. Do not take yourself too seriously, because most people aren't taking you as seriously as you're taking yourself. Important in business, important in life. Take what you do seriously. Take what you do seriously, just don't take yourself too seriously. Here's one of my favorite books of all time, from one of the greatest philosophers of our time, no doubt about it. His name, Theodore Geist, or Dr. Seuss. This book's called Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. By the way, #1 book given to graduating college and university students in the US. #1. Great book to give away. I give it away all the time. It's not a bad thing to give away when you're meeting with people. I like to read this book to people. I won't read the whole book to you, but I'll read the first few pages. Actually, I don't even have to read it. This is scary. I've memorized this book. That's scary. So it starts off like this. It starts off, congratulations, today is your day. You're off to great places, you're off and away. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. Seuss gets it. Seuss gets it. It's all about choice. It's all about choice. He goes on in the book and he talks about rejection, fear, failure. Bring it on. That's good stuff. And what he realizes and he talks about is if you learn from those, it's just called experience. Experience is success, regardless of what type of experience it is. Go out and get the experience. Mess up a little bit. Don't get too good at it, but mess up a little bit. You got to mess up. he finishes the book and he says, yes, you will succeed. Yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. That's pretty cool. That's pretty close. Not 100%, but pretty close. When you're meeting with people, other people, I like to give books away. Qualify, though. If I'm meeting with somebody, I've asked for a meeting, and I say, do you like to read? No. Don't send them a book. I love to read, but I don't have a lot of time right now. I have a young family. I have 2 young kids. Boy, do I have a good book for you. Like I like to send this one along too, obviously, but this is a good book. Find out, qualify. If you're going to give a book away to, write something in it. You'll love page 45. You'll love reading this with your kids. Enjoy, put your name, put a date on it. Then they'll remember. That's powerful. It's a good way of networking or making an impact or making a difference. Networking. You've heard of this probably before. 6 degrees, 1 degree, 6 degrees of separation. Anybody heard of this before, 6 degrees of separation? Yeah. Or you might have heard the Kevin Bacon effect. If you actually Google 6 degrees of separation, it will come up and talk about the Kevin Bacon effect. Hollywood did its own version. And I mean, really what it comes down to on this little planet called Earth, where there's about 6.5 billion people, it means we're all connected to every other person on this planet within 6 people. So if I want to be an Oprah, which I would love to be, I love Oprah, by the way. Not a lot of guys will admit that, but I love Oprah. She's a giver. She's made a huge impact on tons of people. Hopefully she'll never get into politics because she's probably the most powerful person on this planet as it is right now. So she can do a lot and does a lot. So if you want to tap into everybody, they're within 6 degrees. I mean, for instance, Jeff and I were talking tonight ahead of time, and he says, Milton Cork, is that your dad? That kind of took me by, yeah, that's my dad. They belong to the same fraternity. Not at the same time, okay? not quite, but that's pretty cool. I mean, that's my middle name too. I said, wow, you know what? How do you get it down to a few degrees of separation? Talk to people, find out what's important to them. You'll find out certain things pretty quickly. And I'm going to give you some good tips tonight, and we're going to actually do a practical exercise to bring this to fruition, to actually make it come alive. Okay, so how do you get it down to a few degrees? What is networking? The other thing I want to do is let's clarify what networking actually is. Because people get messed up with the word. Networking, whoa, it's this big crazy spider that goes off, this network goes in. It's not complicated. This isn't complicated. I'm going to uncomplicate it right now. I'm going to make it really simple. So when people think I'm not a good networker, well, you'd be surprised. You're probably a lot better than you think you are, but you got to define what actually is it. So I'm going to bring it, first of all, you're going to keep using the word because it's like a generic term. It's like, Kleenex or windsurfer or Xerox, some of those types of terms. I'll keep using it, although I'm going to redefine it a little bit tonight. But networking, I want to stick it over there, and I want to replace it with a key word, people. See, networking is just simply connecting with people. That's it. That's it. Okay, so if you Google, if you're LinkedIn, if you text, if it's email, if it's live, whatever you happen to do where you're connecting with people in any way, shape, or form, that's networking. Pretty powerful. It's not as complicated as we make it. I mean, I'm going to give you some ideas around it. How big is your network? Let me just ask you that question right now. Think about this, okay? People are on LinkedIn. When you go into LinkedIn, this will prove what I'm about to say. If you have a couple hundred people in LinkedIn that you're connected with, if you go up into a corner, you can actually go in and see 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degrees, 4 degrees. You just have 200 people. You're at 2 degrees, you're at about 40,000. 3 degrees, you're up around 1 or 2 million. Isn't that crazy? So again, like the iceberg tapping into that huge potential, our networks are a lot bigger than we think they are. You're connected to a lot more people. Think of it this way. If I only have 200 people in my network, okay, that may not seem like a lot of people, but guess what? Each of them has 200 people too. 200 times 200, that's 40,000, done deal. That's a fact. So it's big. Let's not worry about the number right now, but it's a lot bigger than you think it is. How big's my network? I'm not going to say 6.5 billion, okay? But technically on 6 degrees, it is. But how do you get to the few key people? And one of the things to think about too, when we're thinking about numbers too, I get an opportunity to talk to a lot of corporations, a lot of business schools, universities, high schools, all sorts of different areas. Last year I was in talking to the leadership team for GE Financial. So I have 50 people in the room who run GE Financial leadership team for North America. I asked them, I said, how many, I already knew the answer to this, how many people in GE? 300,000. I said, that's cool, I just added 300,000 people to my own personal network. They said, what? I said, you guys are the leadership team for North America. Don't tell me that you can't connect me into anybody at GE across the world within 1 or 2 people. They said, of course we can. Point of this is you don't have to get to the decision maker every time. Look for one champion in a company. You only need one champion. You get one champion in any company, in any situation, you're in that company. We know how Facebook works, how many friends you have. You're in once you set it up accordingly. It's the same with networking. But we got to be doing this. We got to be doing lots of face-to-face, and I'll get into that. When you meet with people, everybody in this room, when you meet with other people, do you generally take notes? If you ask for a meeting, you want 15 minutes or half an hour of their time, do you generally take some notes when you meet with that person? How many people take notes? Okay. You should be doing this 100%. Let me ask another question. How many people in this room have 100% memory recall or a totally photographic memory? Who in the room has that? Okay. So there's a few reasons why you want to take some notes. First of all, ask permission. Life is all about getting permission. Everything in life is about getting permission. Do you mind if just good questions. Do you mind if I take a few notes? No, this is secret stuff. I've never had anybody say to me, no, you can't. People are always open. As a matter of fact, few things. Don't trust your memory. Take some notes. Take some notes because it shows interest. Isn't that a novel concept? Interest in the other person. Take some notes. Here's what's powerful too is when you send an email to them, this is the proper protocol, by the way, in the business world, in the world in general. You should be sending them a thank you email within 24 hours. The quicker, the better. But think about it a little bit, okay? Here's the other thing too. Because you took some notes and found out what was important to them, by the way, in that email, here's a great subject line, thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. There's nothing more important than somebody's time. Thank you for your time. And then in the first line of your first paragraph, by the way, do not write your life history to them. You'll kill them. Okay? Keep it short and to the point. The first thing, do not ask for something. Don't ask for something in the first line. That's called take. That's called take. It's not about take. It's about give. So in the first line, I'm going to write something like, how's your dog? How's your cat? How did your son do in the soccer game? How did your daughter do in the hockey game? Gold medal girls, man. I tell you, they're carrying us. The guys got to get it together. But that's what's important to them. Put something out there in the email up front to show that you listened, to show that you cared. Adding deposits to their personal bank account. That's called give. Then if you want to ask for something, you can do it later on. But you got to give before you take. That's how the world works. It's a good way to think about it. Now I'm going to give you the #1 rule for networking, for success in life, for abundance in life. This is it. This is the big gold nugget. Gold's doing pretty well these days too. So this is a good one. So I'm going to give you this rule, and I like to talk about it as I'm working on another book right now. A lot of my new book will have some of this stuff in it, but this book that you're going to, hopefully a whole bunch of you pick up tonight, it's only half price. This is a good idea. Books are good. Books are really, really good. They re-emphasize things you hear. Your attention span, your retention goes way up. When you're listening to me or watching me tonight, on average you will retain about 10%. I don't know. I don't think you can go through school and life on 10%. When you start writing things down, retention level goes up by as much as 50%. When you start juicing your senses, which I talk a lot about in my book, the more senses you can juice, the higher your retention level is. So you want to listen, you want to watch, you want to read it, you want to write it down, juice the senses, bring in the retention level. But I like to call this, the big rule, I like to call it G7. See, G8 was already taken. So I had to go with G7. And G7 is simply this: give, 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 and give again. Give and give. And you're all kind of sitting there going, okay, what does he mean by give? Well, I'm talking about give as an attitude. Giving from the perspective of when you meet with another person, it's not about what can you get. You see, so often I meet with people, and I know this works, wherever you are. People come into the meeting, and my inside voice, my outside voice, because I'm a nice, polite Canadian, my outside voice isn't going to say anything, but my inside voice is always going to be giver or taker. And guess what? I'm going to take care of the givers. I'm going to spend time long term on the givers. So if they come into a meeting and ask for a meeting with me, by the way, here's my give to everybody in this room. Anybody in this room who wants 20 minutes of my time live, done deal. You can just email me, okay? It's cork@nextcareer.com. So Cork, C-O-R-K, @NEXCAREER.com. You're thinking, how can this guy do this if he's speaking to 20 or 30,000 people a year at different venues? I know how the numbers work, okay? Most people don't take advantage of these situations. I'm not going to push your buttons on that right now, because if everybody did, I'm in big trouble. But this is kind of how life works. It's easy to do, it's easy not to. Most people choose not to. So the give, 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 when you're meeting with somebody, if somebody comes in and has good questions, that's great. And asks good questions, that's great. If somebody just comes into a meeting and just wants to meet, I kind of go, what's the purpose of this meeting? So when you go into a meeting, it's all about give. It's all about if you have the attitude of what can I do for you, big things are going to happen for you in life. If your attitude walking into things is what can you do for me, you're not going very far. That's called short-term thinking. And I'll give you lots of examples of that tonight. As a matter of fact, when you meet with somebody, think of them as having a sign around their neck, and the sign says this: make me feel good, make me feel important. Imaginary sign. Because that's what's important to them. What's important to you? You. What's important to them? Them. See, selling isn't all about selling. As a matter, I've been in sales my whole life. Xerox, director, VP level, run huge sales organizations, hundreds of millions of dollars, P&L, all that kind of fun stuff. And it always comes back to this. What's important to them? Sales or selling is it's not about the selling, it's about the buying process. What's important to them? And then if you can help them resolve or figure out and make them feel better or make them look good, guess what? You're off to the races in every single situation. So you go into these situations, what can I do for you? How can I make a difference for you? Here are some of the gives, okay? I talk about all these gives. I mean, there's lots of great gives you can give. Here's one of my favorites, okay? You're born with 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them proportionately. As a matter of fact, double up on the ear quotient. Listen 4 times as often as you speak. A lot of people think, if I'm not talking, I have to be talking to control a situation. That's not true. The person who asks good questions and listens controls every situation. Every situation. Got to be good questions. Got to make sure they're good questions. Get the other person talking. Get them talking about what's important to them. Get them talking about them. Get them talking about them. That makes an impact. That makes a big difference. Listen, what a gift. It's such a good gift. So you got to have good questions. Let them do the talking. Here's some other good ones. Collaboration. Sharing. We know that. You know, the generations coming up now are the best collaborators that ever hit this planet. There's no doubt about it. Good collaboration. Electronic tools are great. But this is never going away. In our lifetimes, this is not going away. You got to get good on one-to-one communication, face-to-face. You got to get comfortable. If there's one thing I can give you tonight is when you're meeting with people, it's building confidence, getting comfortable with yourself. Because if you feel good about you, I feel good about you. I feel good about you. If you don't feel good about you, guess what? I'm not going to get excited about you either. You got to be pretty excited about you. You got to be pumped up. You got to know what's going on. You got to make an impact. And these things happen pretty quickly. Some of the other things too, unconditional. Smile, laugh. These are great gifts to give people. Compliment. Compliment people. Only if you mean it. Okay? Because if you don't, they got you. They know. They know. I know. You know. Boy, that was genuine. Come on, go away. That's a killer. You got to be genuine. You got to mean it. You got to make an impact. These are the great gives. Thank you. Please. That's kind of cool. Make a difference, make an impact. As a matter of fact, I don't even call it networking. I don't call it networking. Because net giving takes the work out of networking. It's all about giving. It's all about the attitude of what can I do for you? This will take you really far in life. It's not that complicated. It's not easy, but it's not complicated either. It's pretty simple. This is the magic. Net giving. As a matter of fact, and here's the thing, people will say, okay, if I'm always give, how do I get? Come on, I got to get. I'm not saying for a second you don't get, because you do. You will get again and again and again. Why? Because giving starts the receiving process. Giving in abundance, you get in abundance. You go like this, it comes back. The more you go like that, the more comes back. That's it. It's really not that complicated. It starts the receiving process. It always does. It always will. You got to ask, but you got to earn the right. You earn the right over time. You earn the right by making deposits to people's personal bank accounts. Deposit, deposit, deposit. So when you ask them, they go, of course, of course. Look at your personal bank account right now. It's looking pretty good. Make a difference. Make an impact. If you're sitting there all the time going like this, withdrawal, 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 what's that called? That's called deficit, right? That's not a good place to be. That's not a good balance sheet. Deposit, 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 again and again and again. Pay it forward. Who knows the whole pay it forward concept? What's pay it forward all about? Yeah.
It's personally one of my favorites. It's the idea that, well, it's from a movie.
Yeah, if anybody, there's a great movie. Haley Joel Osment's in it, Kevin Spacey and Helen Hunt. Pay it forward. That, if you haven't seen it, go get it. Tough ending, great movie. Yeah.
When you do something good or you do something for someone, they'll be more likely to pay it forward and do something good.
Right.
So it's sort of like the multiplier effect?
Multiplier effect, wonderful way to put it. So multiplier effect like this. And in the movie, the young kid in the movie, the same sort of thing is he wants to do good deeds for 3 people. So that's his whole idea, his whole concept. So he does these good deeds. He makes a difference for 3 people. He doesn't want to get paid back. He wants each of them to pay it forward to 3 more people, do good deeds for them. Pay it forward to 3 more, to 3 more, 3 more. Goes around the world and the world is a better place. That's a pretty cool concept. It's wonderful. It works that way. Now, I hear the record through Tim Hortons drive-thrus is 7 in a row, meaning the person, I love doing this, I do it all the time. You get up to the window at the Tim Hortons. I always check to make sure there's not a bus behind me. Okay, and I ask how much for the people, Mr. Cork, that's $400 for the 1,000 Timbits. But I always go up, you find out, you pay for the next person in line, so when they come up, they're taken care of. So I hear 7 in a row. That's pretty neat, right? So 7 in a row, next person goes, oh, they just paid for me? I'll pay for the next person, the next person, the next person. Try it sometime. It's pretty powerful. It's kind of fun to do. Host or guest. When you're hosting an event or you're hosting a party, you have a certain attitude. You have a certain way you come across, right? You can rev it up, can't you? Doesn't matter what's happening just before the party or the event, all of a sudden, boom, you're on, you're ready to go. You can take yourself to a certain level. True? We all can get excited and pumped up and take care of people. And when you're the host, what do you do when people are coming in? Welcome them, take care of them, make sure, get them a drink, whatever you want to do, get them comfortable, make them feel good. When you're the guest, you come into an event or a party, sometimes you don't know many people, you tend to hang out in your comfort zone, right? Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing. Okay, it's good to mingle, and usually the host or hostess can help and take you around or whatever. But here's my challenge to every person in this room. Here's my challenge. Be the host. Be the host every day. Host is just an attitude. Pay it forward is an attitude. Collaborating is an attitude. It's all an attitude. It makes a difference. It makes an impact. Be the host every day. Make an impact every day. It's not what you know, it's what? It's who you know? Is it? Okay, I like all of that. I'm just messing with you. Of course it's who you know. It is always who you know. But let's take this a little further. What we've talked a lot about tonight is it's not just who you know, it's what you know about who you know, isn't it? Because lots of people know lots of people know lots of things. Nice. So what are you going to do with it? So it's not just who you know, it's what you know about who you know. Then you've got to take some action, don't you? Big A in my book too. Action, action, action. So it's not just what you know, it's not just who you know, it's what you know about who you know, and it's what you do with what you know about who you know, you know? All right? Sound a little bit like Dr. Seuss? That's why people are always saying, you love well, yeah, Dr. Seuss. But it's not just who, it's what you know about them. Then you got to do something with it. You got to take action, or nothing ever happens until you take some action. Pareto principle, 80-20 rule, we've heard this one before. 20% drives 80% of the productivity. In networking, it goes like this. You must spend 80% of your time on the 20% that gives you 80%. Most people spend 80% of their time on the 80% that only give them 20%. It's like Malcolm Gladwell's written some great books. Outliers more recently, Tipping Point, Blink, a whole bunch of great books. In the Tipping Point, he talks about certain people make a big difference. For instance, if Oprah all of a sudden says, this is a great book, and puts it on the Oprah Book Club, how do you think the book's going to do? It's going to do okay. If we can get Oprah to do that, that would be really, really good. But certain people have a big impact. How do you find those people? How do you make a difference? First impressions. How quickly to create a first impression? How quick is a first impression? How quick? 5, 7 seconds? Yeah. A second. So it's pretty quick. We'd all agree. Again, let's go back to Malcolm Gladwell. He pretty well netted this out in the title of his book called Blink. The whole book's about the 2-second factor. Tons of research done on this, okay? First impressions are pretty well instantaneous. They happen very, very quickly. So I talk a lot about it in my book, about how to tap into it, how to make a difference very quickly. Now, it's pretty well instantaneous. That's for the unconscious or the subconscious mind. The conscious mind takes about 7 to 10 seconds to catch up. So really it's about 7 to 10 seconds in that neighborhood. So what? We hear these statistics all the time. Likability factor, all this kind of fun stuff. So what? Here's the so what. If you don't nail it up front, you got to spend the next 30 seconds 30 minutes, or 30 years trying to bring them back. First impressions are critical. Again, you feel good about you, I feel good about you. You got to have done your homework. You got to make a good first impression. You got to feel good about it. Thin line between confidence and arrogance too. Arrogance is just insecurity. There's no room in this world for arrogance, ever, ever. In corporations, individually, it doesn't cut it. Confidence you earn. It's a good thing. It's a very good thing to have. So, you know, you want to get in front of people, you want to make an impact. Now, I have 3 different areas right here. We've got visual, vocal, and content. So 3 different areas. Let's look at 2 different perspectives here. How we think life works and how life actually works, okay? So when you're in front of people or you're meeting with people or whatever, there's 3 areas that you sort of focus on. And where would you spend most of your time? On visual, vocal, or content? Where would you spend most of your time? Visual? Yeah? Content? Okay. So now we're going to flip this around and we're going to actually look at, out of 100%, where people are judging you, okay? Kind of important statistics, right? So 3 areas right here that open, you know, add up to 100, their perspective of you. What do you think content is out of 100 of the 3? So 10 to 40%, wide variance here. Okay, so what do you think visual is? So pretty high, so 70 to 90, pretty high. Okay, so vocal might be somewhere in between. So just to take the mystery out of this, content is about 7%, visual is about 55%, vocal is about 38%. Tons of statistics done on this, lots of research done on this. Okay, so I hear this all the time. So-called experts talk about this and say, okay, well, content only being 7%, it's not that key, it's not that important. I totally disagree. It may only be 7%, but it's the foundation for the other 93%. I can't nail my visual and vocal. By the way, tonight when you see me, you're judging me on visual and vocal. You are. You are. But I cannot nail my visual and vocal if I don't know my content. You got to know your content. Then the visual and vocal comes naturally. You can get really good at it. So you got to get this stuff down. You really got to nail it. Content, critical. You got to know your stuff. Visual and vocal will come with time, make a difference. If I come up to you and go, Tim Cork, pleased to meet you. Tim Cork, pleased to meet you. Tim Cork, pleased to meet you. I won't do the whole room. That would take a little while. Okay? But when you meet with somebody, look them in the eyes, register the color of their eyes. They may be blue, brown, green. Red if they had a bad night the night before. Just kidding. Sort of. But register the color of their eyes. So important. They say the eyes are the windows to the soul. Eyes are important. Body language is important. When you're up presenting, when you're talking to people, open body language. Welcome. Okay? Don't cross your arms. This is okay to be comfortable, but when you're presenting, you're in front, interviews, whatever they happen to be, is keep it open, keep it welcome. You see somebody, you ask them, how are you doing? I'm having a great day. Hey, tell your body. Tell your body what kind of a day. People can read you like this. People need to know how you're really doing. Same with voicemail, same with email. You know, first impressions are coming out. Right now, do you know what my voicemail goes? This is good, this is good. Go, Canada, go. Thank you for calling Tim Cork at Next Career. Please leave a detailed message and have a great day. Do you know that I don't usually put Go, Canada, go, okay? But in the month of December, our whole company, right across Canada, says season's greetings. The month of January, we say Happy New Year up front. That's kind of cool. It changes it up a little bit. Make a difference for people. Make an impact for people. So I always say, have a great day. Do you know that 1 out of 5 people, when they leave me a message, says, you have a great day or you have a good day too? That's good. That's big. And it's not just what I say, it's how I say it. If I go, have a great day, what kind of an impact is that? I say, have a great day. It's not just the how, or the what, it's the how you say it too. Email, same sort of thing. First impressions are kicking in through all these different ideas. These are good statistics because they help build the foundation of communication and everything that we're talking about tonight. Average human attention span. What do you think it is? Average human attention span. We're all over the place on this one. So 30 seconds to 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So a hint here. Advertisers spend billions and billions and billions of dollars on commercials. Believe me, they've done their homework. Average commercial is how long? Yeah, 15 to 30 seconds. So here's the thing. You guys know this. If you're leaving a voicemail when you first meet with somebody, they don't want to hear your life history. You're killing them. You're killing them if you start telling. You got to get to know people, but it takes a little bit of time to do that. So if somebody calls you, leaves you a voicemail, after 15, 30 seconds, what are you doing? Come on, come on, come on, come on. Aren't you? You are. So key thing when you're networking, when you get down, you want to tell people your strengths or whatever it is, you got to practice your brand me speech. You got to practice what we call an elevator speech, about 30 seconds long. Tell them a little bit about you, how you can make an impact, how you can make a difference. And the big thing we talked about tonight too is it's not just what, it's how you say it. How you say it comes with knowing your content, getting comfortable, rehearsing again, again, and again. You got to keep rehearsing. Make a difference. I already talked a little bit about this. Failure, good stuff. Failure's a good thing. Rejection's a good thing to get. All these things are very, very good if you learn from them. It's just experience. I love the quote from Thomas Watson, founder of IBM. It goes, you want to double your success rate? Double your failure rate. You got to mess up. The most successful people I know are the biggest failures. They are. They learn. A lot of the time, you have to learn by, you got to find out how it doesn't work to find out how it does work. But guess what? They learn and they take it to the next level. They raise it to the next level. They make an impact and make a difference. So failure, these are all good things. Talked about this too. Deposits to people's personal bank accounts again, again, and again. So when you ask, will you do this for me? Of course, of course. Look at your bank account. Look at your personal bank account. How many calls should you put into people? Now let's finish off with these last few. When people are calling, we think, gee, am I going to be a nuisance? Am I a pest if I make too many calls too quickly? Well, here's some good rules of thumb. Again, lots of statistics, lots of research on this, but if you're trying to get a hold of me, most people will stop calling. If I don't call them back, 50% of people will stop calling after one call, 80% by two calls, 90% by 3 calls, 97% of people stop calling after 4 calls. Now let me give you another statistic. 80% of business is done after 5 calls. Interesting, eh? Must be something magical to being persistent. Be persistent, but be politely persistent. Change it up a little bit. The other I like to call the double up factor too. If I leave a message for somebody, I give them a week to call me back. I usually in my message, I'll say, if I don't hear from you, I'll be calling you back in the next week. If I still don't hear from them, I double up, I give them 2 weeks. Still don't hear from them, a month. I put them on a monthly hit list or whatever it happens to be doing. I've been doing that for years with large sales organizations, some of the top sales organizations in the world. This works. It's not easy. Now, and I'd say in most organizations, the biggest flaw is not calling people back. They'll wait a few months, call them back, and somebody else, they'll go, all of a sudden somebody else has bought the service, their product, or hired somebody else, because that person's just been a little bit more persistent. Persistence is a good thing. You got to channel it though. And you got to be polite when you're doing it and make an impact. Eagles, what are eagles? Eagles are the people of wisdom, the people who soar, the people who have been there before. If you want to be an eagle, you got to hang with the eagles. You got to fly with the eagles. Ask the eagles. There's lots of eagles out there. People, wherever you want to go, whatever you want to be, whatever you want to do, people are already doing it or they've already done it. Tap into them, ask them. If they won't spend time with you, they're not true eagles. See, eagles give. Eagles get helping other people. And the eagles will always help. Go to the next one, go to the next one, go to the next one. There's lots of eagles out there. But you got to keep going. You got to keep calling on them. If you want to be a duck, and I'm not an activist or anything like that. I'm not beating up ducks, but if you want to be a duck and hang out in a little pool of mediocrity swimming around with the ducks, go for it. You want to soar? Find the eagles, hang with the eagles, and make a difference, make an impact. 4 questions to ponder, 4 questions to think about, okay? Children always ask, why? Why? It's a good question. Why give? Why collaborate? Why share? Why smile? Why laugh? Why make a difference? Why be the host? Why pay it forward? All good questions. The best answer I can think to of why, and the second question to ponder is why not? Why not? Why wouldn't you collaborate? Why wouldn't you share? Why wouldn't you give? Why wouldn't you be the host? Why wouldn't you pay it forward? Why not? Third question to think about. Third question to ponder. Why not you? Why not you? Think of the incredible things people have done against insurmountable odds. Why not you? Why not you helping that person in need? Why not you making a difference for that person, collaborating, making an impact, helping people out? Why not you? Fourth question to ponder, fourth question to think about, big A in my book again, action, action, action. Why not now? Why not now? What's holding you back? I can only think of one thing that's holding you back. This is a great Chinese proverb. It's one of my favorite. Very, very powerful. Life is an echo. Life is an echo. What you send out comes back. What you send out in abundance comes back in abundance. It's an echo. Just keep sending it out. The attitude, net giving, make an impact, make a difference. Tap into that huge potential below the surface. Good metaphor. So it's not as complicated as we think it is. So I'm going to hang here for a bit. I'm going to sign books. Anybody who wants to buy a book, they're half price tonight. It's a good deal, and it's a lot of the stuff I'm talking about and a whole lot more. Okay, but thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you.